What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Sorare scouting video. In the video today we'll be looking at the top 10 cheap beasts in the JPL league. Of course, if you guys are enjoying the scouting content coming out on the channel right now, please do show me by leaving a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get into the JPL for today. Yes, guys, you know, for these videos I absolutely love to get a league expert involved because they obviously watch in the league, they know everything about it, and of course it is good to get their insight and their knowledge upon the league, and of course I can sort of throw my own little twist on their takes. So yeah, our league expert for today is Mr. Siebeeee. He has a fantastic Twitter page with all things JPL included. So if you guys are looking to compete in the JPL this season, I would highly recommend clicking the link in the description down below. And he did want me to mention that he'll be doing transfer news on there, pre-season friendlies, even lineup predictions for those of you guys that want to become members and stuff to his community. And he also has a great JPL Discord, and pretty much, yeah, if you guys go and support him, I would really appreciate that, because of course this video would not be possible without Mr. Siebeeee. With that being said, I am absolutely horrible at pronouncing names, so I could have even said his name, to be honest with you. Like, could have said it wrong, to be honest with you. And a lot of the names in this video today I am probably going to butcher and say wrong, so I just wanted to preemptively sort of tell you guys I'm sorry, but I try my best. With that being said, our first name on the list today in our top 10 cheap beasts for the JPL this season is Illyes Benachour. He's a Moroccan. You know I love a Moroccan. He is under 18, or 18 years old, should I say, a very, very young talent, and he is coming from Club Bruges under 18s, and pretty much Siebeeee said here, he doesn't anticipate this man breaking into the squad straight away. He's sort of one that he's been looking at pre-season and being like, okay, this is a really good young talent coming into the side here, and it's going to be one where he definitely will have to work for his spot in the side, but he thinks potentially one to look at maybe at the back end of the season and sort of just keep an eye out for. I will say, for those of you guys that are of course watching this video, I highly recommend going on Sorare now, opening up a scouting page, adding these guys to a list, and that's the best way to do it on these types of videos, is just get all 10 of them in a nice lovely list so you can keep track of them throughout the season. You can look at their prices when they do get minted. Of course, Illyes here hasn't even got a card yet, so yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see what his prices are like. Of course he needs to break into the team as well, so perhaps it's a good way to wait for the price, or a good thing to potentially wait for the price to drop and then buy him when he's super low. Definitely a decent shout and one to keep your eye out on. Yes, guys, up next we have Noah Adedeji-Sternberg. I feel like I kind of nailed that one a little bit, I don't know. A young Belgian winger, and you guys know I absolutely love forward cards that are wingers on Sorare. For those of you guys that might be new to Sorare and you're wondering why that is, it's because generally speaking wingers do well for AA, and that is all-round score on Sorare, as opposed to strikers, and of course they still have the high chance of getting a decisive action in their game. With that being said, Noah here, you can see he's a youngster playing for Genk, and he, even though you can see this as a lot of substitute appearances, he has been hitting some very good scores even off of the bench, as you can see. And Siebeeee has sort of said a very bright young talent who is likely to be a starter in the upcoming season. Done very well with the limited amount of game time, as we just discussed there, they did have last year, and he pretty much says he is pretty convinced that Noah is going to have a breakout season this season, so might be one that is sort of like cheaper to start off the season perhaps. Maybe people might think he's not in the rotation to be a starter. However, he definitely thinks he's going to have a breakout year, so could perform fantastically. Up next, we have a bit of a risk, we have a bit of a gamble. It's Enrique Llansana. Definitely how you say his name, 100%. He is a player that is coming into the JPL this season from the Go Ahead Eagles, and this one is a little bit risky, I'll be honest with you guys. However, he looks like he could potentially be sort of like a leader in the Anderlecht side that he has moved to. And of course he is, a quite experienced midfielder, 24 years of age, playing, a lot of his game, well, most of his game obviously, in the Eredivisie. You can see here, a pretty decent scorer in the Eredivisie. You wouldn't say anything insane. However, this is of course a cheap beasts video, and I feel like this guy's ceiling is quite high to being one of the better scorers in the league. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that he's going to be the best midfielder in the league, guys, but I reckon he could potentially be one of them really cheap pickups that does a job for you guys. So yeah, of course playing for Anderlecht as well, who are a pretty decent side in the league. So yeah, I'd say keep an eye out for Enric this season. Up next, we have another Anderlecht man, and it is Ilay Camara. And he is a very attacking fullback who looks to be a pretty decent signing from Standard Liège, of course. I think this is going to be a very interesting one because he's the type of player that you can tell is a great player, however, does get injured a lot. So Siebeeee has said here that he's signed from a rivals club, of course, like we just mentioned, and had some pretty decent scores until his injury. So you could probably see that just here in his scoring matrix. Not exactly the best in the back end of the season. However, Siebeeee says he's a very attacking wing back who could smash depending on how well Anderlecht do this season. So potentially someone to partner with, obviously, our previous suggestion. Are you looking to become a Sorare manager? If so, I would really appreciate if you use the link down below in the description to sign up, because you'll be helping out a small creator like myself, and also the benefit that you guys get from that is if you buy 5 cards from the auction house or the instant buy market, then you'll receive £50 in-game credits. Up next is a defender from Sorare. It's Jeremy Petris. Now, this guy has a couple of peak scores, and what I like the most about his scoring, as you can see here, it's a lot of AA. 38 here, we've got another one here that's 35, another one here that's 45, and he really does feel like he has them peak scores in him, and of course, Siebeeee here saying he's an okay scorer with good peaks. However, because Sorare have Conference League this year, you get even more utility, like bang for your buck, if you like. Of course, this one is definitely going to be on the cheaper side, hopefully. So potentially someone that you could get in order to strengthen in other positions, and of course he's going to have lots of utility with the midweek games that Sorare are going to be playing this season. Up next, we have a man from a league that I absolutely love watching. It is the Norwegian league, Jakob Romsaas. I watched him. He used to play for Tromsø, and he has moved to Sporting Charleroi this season. Another man from Charleroi, and of course, I'm going to use the same argument as I did with the last guy. He's going to have great utility going into next year, and this guy is a young number 10 Norwegian player who links up the play very nicely in the midfield. I've watched a lot of Tromsø games, and I have noticed this man. He didn't always exactly be nailed to be playing. You can see a couple of substitute appearances here, but he looks like one of them kind of like very capable number 10s of getting double decisives and things like that, and connecting up the play fantastically. And of course, he's still quite young, he's got a lot to learn, but I feel like he will fit in very well to Charleroi system. It's just whether or not he goes straight into the team or not. So potentially someone to sort of have on the watch list, see if he gets picked, you know, see if he gets on the manager's good side. Of course, a new signing, you have to sort of impress in training, if you like, and show the manager you know what you're all about. You know, if Jakob can do that and really get on the good side of the manager, get, you know, the starts that he needs at the young age, and I just could see him progressing and developing very nicely for Charleroi, and like I said, obviously midweek utility. So yeah, definitely one to keep your eye out on. You know I couldn't complete this video without having a Westerloo man in there. Shout out Michael. This one is Jordan Boss, and you can see quite clearly he is a man that is injured and he has been out for a while. However, when he did play, you can see here this sort of stint of 7 games, pretty decent. His lowest score being 40, of course, and you know, 70s, 60s, pretty consistently, and a 60 on average with a lot of decisives. And for a defender, that is, you know, you're pretty happy if your defender gets a decisive. And he looks like one that is potentially like quite risky. Of course, you never know what someone's going to be like when they come back from injury. However, his price is absolutely going to reflect on that, and that is why he has to be in a cheap beast video, because I'm anticipating this guy to be super, super cheap at the start of the season because he's been injured, because he's, sort of, yeah, potentially not even, maybe out of favour. Of course, I do believe he's going to be back, fully fit and firing at the start of next season. And yeah, I'll be interested to see how Jordan Boss does this season. And one definitely, I'd say, to put in the scouting centre and pray that he recovers well from his injury. Up next is another risk, a guy that isn't even minted on Sorare, and this is why I absolutely love doing these sort of like pre-season videos and scouting, because there absolutely is a chance that this guy might not be able to do it at the level. Of course, he's taken a step up this season with his team being promoted. Liège are going to take a gamble, I reckon, on this guy, and it is Adnane Abid. And I was talking with Siebeeee about this man, and he sort of said he reckons he can handle the level. Stade Liège are on doing a massive rebuild, so he'll probably get his opportunity to be playing. And he said if it clicks, it could be one that scores very well and surprises a few. So perhaps one that's sort of in the shadows, not that many people know about, could potentially score very well. And of course, a nice young forward card, which is always exciting, going into a game week, knowing that a player like this is in your lineups, one that could go crazy and do something fantastic. And that's what we're praying for, and hopefully his price is nice and cheap. Up next, we have quite an interesting shout here. We've got Jeppe Erenbjerg, and they are a newly promoted side, and this is the guy that he's pretty much like the vocal point of the team. Like he's the key component to making the team tick. Now, don't get me wrong, this team is newly promoted, so they're likely to perhaps not perform the best. However, this is something that Siebeeee sort of discussed with me. He said that this team has started pre-season a lot earlier than other teams, and that proved to be quite a pivotal thing in the season. Well, I mean, you can generally, in football, to be honest, if a team is starting pre-season early, it's usually a good sign, gelling nice and early, getting ready for the season. And he feels like, yeah, they might sort of hit the ground running, and if they do that, this is going to be your man to sort of, I guess, see you over the line and really get them peak scores. So perhaps a start in a not a fantastic side, and we're hoping here that when he does get minted, again, the price is nice and cheap, and it could be a start in a poor side. So had to throw him out there for this video, as yeah, you guys know me, I like to sort of have that rogue shout in there. Last but not least, it is Daam Foulon, who is a new transfer from Mechelen. Of course, you can see here pretty decent scores from Mechelen, and he has moved to Antwerp this season, who of course are a lot better of a side. And that is pretty much my whole thought process with this shout. You can see here Siebeeee sort of mentioning that he was already a great scorer, and you'd like to think if you're a great scorer in a bad team, when you go to a good team, you're going to be an even better scorer. That's sort of the thought process behind this one, and this one perhaps a bit more of a safer shout than the past couple that we have included in the video. So yeah, I like to get a good mix of sort of suggestions in these videos. Some players that might be, completely rogue and might not do that well, but also a nice mix of players that are perhaps a little bit more expensive than the quote-unquote like super cheap guys. But yeah, I reckon Foulon is going to be one of those that's pretty consistently playing, going to get a lot of utility out of him, hopefully, assuming that he, does well and impresses. Because, of course, when a new player signs to a new club, there's always opportunity that they could, fall out of favour or not get the starting spot that they would like. But you like to assume if a club is going out and buying someone, they're going to do the business, to fill the gap that they feel like they needed in the squad. So yeah, last suggestion for the video today is Foulon. So there you have it. There is 10 cheap beasts in the JPL this season. Of course, like I said, this video would not be possible without Siebeeee. So make sure you go in the description, drop him a follow, and say Flynn sent you or something like that. Of course, if you guys are enjoying the Sorare scouting content that I am putting out on the channel, please show me by leaving a like, subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you guys in a future video. Peace.